Hello, welcome back to another podcast episode of The Little Filly That Couldn't Be Broke. Okay, today's topic is on the mother wound. I haven't done a lot of research. I haven't done a lot of learning or reading about what the mother wound is or how people refer to it. But I feel called, I feel called to talk about it today through the lens of my experience. Because as you've heard in some of the other podcasts, if you listen to some of the other ones, I've done a lot of ancestral healing, right? Like I do a lot of healing, I do a lot of digging in, and I do a lot of ancestral research and healing and moving through those generational patterns. One thing that I have noticed, and this might just be me, because again, you might resonate with this, but it's not going to be everyone. It's not going to be everyone's experience. But what I have noticed is when I do the ancestral healing and I go down the lineage lines, every once in a while there is a little bit to heal under the male or masculine areas. But that's just every once in a while. So I have actually pretty much or pretty well gone through every single grandmother and my own wounds. I mean, being female myself, start within my female lineage. How does it feel to be female in my body, in my life, right? And then my own healing experience comes through healing wounds with my mother. If that doesn't speak to the mother wound, I'm not sure what does. So even though I don't have these full definitions or full experience or full diving in and doing some specific mother wound healing, or I haven't done the research behind it, which I'm kind of curious. I might read a book. I have, dabbled. I'm going to say dabbled. I might have read a blog or two or a website post or two on what the mother wound was. and it just resonated. And so, but I haven't done any experiential things, which I've only experienced my own journey. So like I said, it started by healing my own feminine, my own just female, because I am female. I'm healing the female lineage. And then, as I mentioned, I went on to heal the wounds and the generational trauma through my mother's side. So, right, stepping into that mother wound. But from there, I have gone on to heal both grandmother sides and all of the great grandmothers. All of the great grandmothers. And now, so I have a ancestral chart. And I'm actually not even just thinking about like my grandmothers, females everywhere. So let me step back a little bit. So doing the generational trauma or the ancestral healing, I've started healing it in my children as well. And when you get into a relationship with someone, if you don't cut the cord, like if there's ever a divorce or anything like that, separation, if you don't cut those cords, you're still attached to. So if you're in a marriage, if you're in a relationship, if you have a spouse, if you have a partner, those generational patterns, those patterns are affecting you as well. So I've gone on to do my kids, and of course it's the same, right? It's just my whole ancestral chart with the child at the top, right? Rather than me. And so that puts my spouse, my partner, right, on the other side of their lineage, right? But that it's also having an effect on me as well. It's having an effect on this home, this family, this household, right? And how we show up as a family unit. So I have been building out their family tree, and it's kind of fun, I'm not gonna lie, there's some great fun aspects to it. But as I'm doing that, there's healing that's happening as well. There's photos that I'm finding, there's stories that are coming up, and some are really cool stories, some are really fun stories, and some are just kind of run-of-the-mill stories. But there's also healing that needs to happen. There's also those underlying emotions that went on as they went through their life. There's those underlying patterns. There's generational patterns that have been passed down to them. So I have the kids' ancestral chart all, like, I've got it started, so all drawn up to where I am at. And I have healed every single one of the females on that chart. And I'm really not surprised, right? Like, how can you be surprised about that? Because females for generations were not respected, and like they couldn't vote, they couldn't have their own bank account, they couldn't even have a job in some places, they couldn't own land or a home without a male putting their name on it. Like they couldn't do these things for themselves until this generation, until now, until the last 50 years. Even in my grandmother's time, that wasn't an option for her at points in her life, right? Even in my mother's time, that wasn't option for her at points in her life. But now it is. Now it is in my generation and in the future generations. So of course we're healing the feminine. Of course we're healing the female lines. Of course we are healing the mother wound. We are learning to be trusted. We are learning to be respected. We are learning to be independent and not codependent, right? We're learning to be able to stand up for ourselves. We're starting to have the space to be able to stand up for ourselves. Okay? Does that is this making sense? Absolutely. Like, I don't think there's any person out there who could deny that this is a part of our history, that this is a part of what the whole world is healing. And it's definitely been a piece of my healing journey. And I actually didn't recognize it as that right away. I just thought it's human. I'm just healing my humanness, and I'm just healing my mom's humanness, and then I'm just healing, like a man over here and another lady over here, and everyone's just human, and we're just healing as we kind of go along. But more and more, it started to show that there was way more feminine, way more maternal lines that needed the healing than the masculine. That being said, that's not entirely true, because men and the masculine needs just as much healing as the feminine, because they didn't get taught, how to respect, each and every person. They got taught unhealthy patterns in the other way, right? Where females might have been like kind of I want to say like bullied down or not respected or put in their place for at the time, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like disciplined or abused, or really not treated well in so many regards and in so many aspects that this trauma is still hidden within our lineage. Well, who else was out there to do this to the feminine beyond the masculine, right? The masculine was squeezing at the feminine or was bullying down the feminine, right? So the masculine needs just as much healing. They need just as much healing. They need to come into balance with their masculine empowerment. And they need to shift in those ways as well, right? But it's when the feminine can learn to stand up for themselves, when we can learn to heal the wounds inside, that we are going to teach the men how to respect us. Because the men didn't know any different. That's what they were taught. That's what kind of got passed down through their lineages. And I have yet to kind of like intellectually wrap my head around this. But as I see it, it's the victim that needs to heal. I mean, if you've been victimized in some way, traumatized in some way, harmed in some way, if you heal that pain, if you heal that experience, if you step out of that experience stronger than ever, if the victim can stand up and ask to be treated in a different way, if they can remove whatever's inside of them that, I don't want to say allows themselves to be, but kind of, you know what I mean? Allows themselves to be walked on, allows themselves to be put down. If we can learn as victims in whatever capacity to stand up stronger, to understand that the bullies are just the victims themselves. If we can really start to see the truth for what it is, excuse me, then we're going to create a different world. We're going to create a more empowered world. I mean, I think, yes, there is a place. I feel this question coming up. I feel like, yes, there is a place. If someone is bullying someone else and they recognize that within themselves, they can change. But I'm guessing what they have to do, if you're being a bully and you recognize that and you're going to change that within yourself, you have to heal those pain points. You have to heal the wounds within yourself. You have to heal the limiting beliefs. You have to heal that place within yourself that was acting out in the first place. So even bullies are victims. So if we heal the victim in ourselves and not allow ourselves to be bullied or to be the bullies, does that make sense? That, I feel like that description made more sense. To be the victim, heal the victim within ourselves. To not be bullied or to not be the bully. If we heal and become more empowered within ourselves, as I'm talking about the mother wound. And the mother wound is just a wounding of the feminine. I feel like I didn't give a description of it yet. I didn't even tell you what the mother wound was. But in a way, I believe it's a little bit self-explanatory. It's the wounding of the mother. It's the wounding of the feminine. And that has been passed on for generations. Generations and generations and generations. And we're changing it. We're changing it. This is the time to change it. And we see it within our culture. We see it within our world. And I'm really excited to be part of this movement. I'm really excited to be here helping other females, other women, heal that place inside of themselves that has been wounded generations and generations back. So even though I kind of focus on ancestral healing, this is very much a part of it. This is very much a part of it. It's not just within a culture, like the cultural things. It's not just what the English or the French or the German or the Chinese or the what went on in India or Africa or the Middle East or South America or North America. It's not just within the religions. It's not just within the cultures. It's also within the feminine or the sexes, I guess. You know, like if we're healing racism, if we're healing sexism, if we're healing all of the wounds, we're kind of doing it simultaneously. And this is a big one that I really see is coming through in my own journey. Like I said, I have healed myself, or I'm working on healing myself. My mother, my grandmothers, my great-grandmothers, my great-great-grandmothers. 7 generations back, although I haven't quite gotten that far. So we can heal the wounds of the feminine 7 generations forward. So the females in our life can be more empowered than ever, can stand up and be part of this world and be the change that we want to see in this world more than ever. So the girls, the little girls growing up, know their worth. They know their value. They know what they bring to the table. They feel trusted. They feel respected. They can own their responsibility, you know, in that victimhood, but also in their power, right? Standing up and being responsible is taking back that power and becoming the empowered females that I know and I am in the process of helping this world claim. So just lately, I mean sort of lately, this summer, when I wasn't feeling well, I was on a journey I was doing some business stuff. I was working in the background doing some business stuff. And I was trying to find my niche. And I have claimed my niche is Métis women, because that is my background culture, or one of them. That's one of them. I don't think I'll get into it. But anyways, I'm not going to tell you all of my background cultures. But that's the one that's local, right? Like I was saying in the ancestral healing podcast, that if I was over in England, I would probably have a different resonance, have a different focus. That's the one that's local here. That's the wounds that I'm feeling and really resonating here, living in this land in this spot. And I feel like, okay, I did this. I'm getting off topic. But I will tell you this because this might be fun for you guys. At one of the sessions or one of the classes that I went to, someone posed the question, if you could live anywhere in this world, where would you live? And we all lived very locally to where I am now, like within like an hour of where I live. We came to, kind of the middle community and they were from surrounding communities. Doesn't matter. But we were all very local to here. And we went around the room, I don't know, 6 or 8 of us, and everyone gave a different answer than where they actually lived. They're like, oh, I want to live in the east, in the west, overseas, down south, more up north or something. Whatever it was. Whatever it was that was authentic to them. And I sat there and I actually didn't know right away. Because I wasn't called to anywhere else. I'm just like, this feels like, no, I wouldn't want to live there or even over there. So I actually had to come home and I grabbed a map and I really spoke to my soul. And I said, soul, if you wanted to live anywhere in this huge, huge world, where would you live? So this is a question you can answer for yourself. And I grabbed a map. I grabbed a globe. And I said, I would want to live right here. So the universe, God, put me exactly where I need to be. So this feels very resonant to me. This feels very exact. This feels very soul driven. But as I started to say, I don't know why those other people, so if this is you, wouldn't choose to follow their soul and go live. We can live anywhere in this big old world. Why they wouldn't go live where they are called to go live, where they resonate with. So that's just an inquiry for you. If you're not living where you want to live, go live there. But what I was saying is, I chose as my niche Métis women, and maybe I'll actually do a podcast on this too. I'm going to write that down. But the point I was getting at is that Métis, the cultural, the racism part of that was only half of that statement. And I didn't just pick women, because I'm a girl and females are most likely to show up and do the healing work or whatever. I was very intentional in choosing this. Because women is the other half. It's that feminine. It's the mother wound, right? It's the other half of the healing. Yes, the culture needs to be healed, and it's very local in this area. This is where the Métis, unless I lived in Winnipeg, where we really got started, right in the Red River area. But they have scattered because of the conflicts that were going on in the Red River area. They have scattered all over Canada and beyond. So here I am in the middle of the prairies, pretty much smack dab in the middle of the prairies. And I am here to help heal the Métis culture. But the Métis women, and women, like I said, is the other half of that statement. But the reason I love this statement so much, I don't want to go into, I'm going to write down to do a whole other podcast on this. So if this is something that you are interested in and curious about, I'm going to do a whole other podcast. But I'm going to touch on it here, is because Métis is also a mixture of not many different cultures, but like of the European cultures and the indigenous cultures. So it can be many different cultures, right? Because it doesn't just have to be a Cree indigenous. There's many different indigenous cultures. And it doesn't just have to be like French. Métis is a French verbiage, right? It's the French word. my ancestors, there is some French, but were primarily actually English and Scottish. So we're actually called half breeds. So it could have been, like I said, it could have been the Scottish, could have been the Irish, could have been the English, could have been the French, could have been any of the other ones that came and were working in the fur trade, or just living in what was called New France at the time, or down in the USA, which is, it wasn't at that time, and just part of this whole culture. Okay? So there's many different indigenous cultures, and there's many different European cultures. So there's the mix. So when I say my niche is Métis women, it's very much all the Europeans, could come on over, and they could resonate with what I'm speaking about. All of the indigenous cultures could come on over and resonate with what I'm speaking about. All of the women from all walks of life could come on over and resonate with what I'm speaking about. And it's niched down to kind of my specific story, and people who have walked this same story, but in their own way. But could have done it, through many different lines, many different locales, like locations, many different ways. Like it's broad and it's specific at the same time. Anyways, but what I wanted to bring to that is the word woman, like Métis, the Métis woman, Métis women, Métis woman. We are one and we are collective. But the women, that word was very specific in healing the mother wound, in healing the feminism, in healing the female lineages in all walks of life. That was very, very specific. Because this has been prominent. It has been very noticeable in my healing, where I have really, really focused on those female lines. Like I said, I have touch pointed on some of the male lineages and healed their aspect of the feminine collective. It's kind of like, because this male went through hell and back, he wasn't within himself, you know what I mean? He wasn't, spiritually connected. He didn't treat the women in his life very well because he wasn't feeling good within himself. The warrior in him, was coming out rather than the healed masculine, right? So I've touched on those masculine, I've touched on those male lineages, but it really, a fly, I don't know if you saw that. Anyways, what is the spiritual meaning of flies? I have looked that up so many times this summer, the summer of 2023 and the fall of 2023. Very much so. This is so much off point and off topic, but very much so. Flies. We can't. They just keep coming. So I have looked that up more than once, but here we go. It just tried to run me over. But I think that's kind of it. If you resonate with the mother wound, if you resonate with the female healing, if you resonate with any of these aspects, this is something that I really, really focus on in my own healing. And this is what I can help you guys focus on in your healing as well. So if you really, really resonate with this, checking me out. Check out my socials pages and my blog, my website, all the things. Check out all the things. And we'll see you on the other side. I hope to meet you in sessions, in classes, retreats, wherever you find me. I'm glad that you have found me. I'm glad you resonate with what I speak about. This is a deep topic. And it's along the lines of like those dark nights of the soul. It's along the lines of those places that we need healing. Okay, so this is where I'm going to leave my podcast or my story on the mother wound. It has been quite the journey healing these lineages, watching or feeling or sensing or reading about or hearing about what these female lines have gone through, and moving to the other side of it feels miraculous. It feels empowering. It feels uplifting. It feels so damn good to get to the other side of something that I've been through, or something that the other generations have been through, that it's just carried on. And it's not mine to carry. It's over. It's done with. And we are moving to a new era. We're moving to a new era where the female lines can stand in their power. They can be empowered. We are empowered. We are becoming empowered. And it feels pretty damn amazing. All right. I will check you guys later. Catch you on another podcast or wherever you're finding me on the interwebs. I'll be there, and I hope to see you there. See you next time.